West 81st in Maryville, Indiana. That's 46410. Again, Cute as a Cupcake, the Cupcakery and Bake Shop at 2008 West 81st in Maryville, Indiana. So the question of the day comes from Dana out of New Jersey. So she asks, which hurts your score more, late payments to Visa or a store card like a Macy's? So thank you very much, Dana. Welcome to the 800 Credit Score Man Show family. I appreciate you contacting me. So here's what I told Dana. They both hurt your credit report and your score the same. There's both credit cards. Doesn't matter that one's a Visa and the other one happens to be at a big box store. You still incur, that hit if you are late. And let me specifically say that if you're 30 days or more late, that's when it hits your credit report. And the reason I have to say that, because I did have a client that I talked to. Actually, she didn't even become a client. She didn't need to become a client, but she was telling me that she's always been late. She's never paid anything. This was an older woman, and she said she's never paid anything on time at all. So when we go to look at her credit report, it is almost flawless. She hasn't missed a payment anywhere, but she was under the impression that if her payment was due on the 15th and she didn't pay it to the 21st, then it was hitting her credit report and she was being recorded as late. If you're 30 days late, then it is going to hurt you. So if you pay your credit card late every month, of course you're going to incur fees, and you might get a letter in the mail, a phone call or whatever, and you pay it late on the 21 days late every month, like clockwork. You pay it 21 days late. That should not be on your credit report at all. Now, of course, there might be some instances where something happens, somebody reports it differently or funny or what have you, and it hits your credit report, then you need to dispute it. You need to dispute it because you were not 30 days late. Now, I wouldn't test this theory and try to make it at the 29th day to see if they put it on your credit report, but you should not be, penalized, if you will, if you're not 30 days late when it comes to looking at your credit reports. So make sure that you make those payments on time, and if you can't make it on time, that you make it before your 30 days is up. So you will incur, if you're late and it shows on your credit report, you will incur a loss of your points. Your credit score will go down. Doesn't matter if it's the Visa or if it's one of the big box stores or what have you. Now, here's where something may be different. If it's your mortgage, it carries a little more weight. So if you're 30 days late on your mortgage, then your credit score may go down even further than if it was that Visa. So if you're late on your mortgage, you can see a drop from 40 to 100 points. But you can also see that same drop, not that much, but you can see a drop of 20, 30, 40, 50 points when it comes to your Visa or MasterCards or what have you as well. So again, thank you very much, Dana from Jersey. I appreciate you contacting me. Welcome to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. You are officially a part of the family. Again, the question of the day is brought to you by Cute as a Cupcake, Cupcakery and Bake Shop, where the cupcakes are more than cute, they're delicious. 2008 West 81st in Maryville, Indiana. Tell them that the 800 Credit Score Man sent you. So let's get back into the show. And before we do that, and I talk about these collections, let me throw one more shout out right quick. Happy birthday to Carlton Bryant. Happy birthday to you. Carlton on Instagram is B as in boy, L, V as in Victor, CK, M as in Mary, ILON. If you want a commissioned rendering, a drawing of yourself or a picture that you have, you need to contact Carlton Bryant. I have been watching his artwork, and this man is amazing. So again, it's BLVCKMILON. Happy birthday to you, sir. So let's jump into this collections portion. One of the biggest shows of the year for the 800 Credit Score Man Show. So when I talked about collections, and I'm going to tell you, you really need to go listen to this show. I give some serious strategy because you're not just trying to look at your collections and only get them removed or pay them, and how does that affect your credit score. All those things are in there, but there's some specific strategies on how to get those things removed as well as to get that amount reduced. So specifically when it talks to collections, one thing you need to do, you need to make the collection agency verify that it's your debt and that the amount is correct. Oftentimes, you'll see that you think you owe somebody $500, and on your credit report, this collection agency says you owe $650. Well, somebody has added some money to that collection. They've added some fees in there and things of that nature. So make sure that you make that collection agency verify that it's your debt and that the amount is correct for sure. Number two, you need to know your rights. You need to know that 7 years or older, if that debt is 7 years or older, and that's from the time that it went bad. So the last time you made a payment on them, the last time you made a payment was in 2010, and say it was February 2010, well, in February of 2017, that should be getting ready to come off of your credit report. A little hint, if you actually utilize or look at your TransUnion credit report, they often will tell you the date that something will come off of your credit report. So know your rights. If it's 7 years or older, it should be coming off your credit report. Doesn't happen for bankruptcies, but if you have collections on your credit report, then it should be coming off your credit report. And I'm going to pause right here and tell you to join the Facebook group, Credit Score Comeback. Join that Facebook group. There are some great questions and some great dialogue coming out of that group. And this was one of the things that we talked about, was how to get that done and to know your rights. And I posted something directly from the Fair Credit Act, talking about your rights at that in that group. So join that group, the Credit Score Comeback on Facebook. Join that group. So the third thing in collections you want to do is you want to dispute it. If it's not yours, if it's too old, if the amount is incorrect, then you want to dispute it. If you have no idea who these people are, you want to dispute it. And go back and listen to that show again, talking about collections and how to handle them. I prefer to dispute those things through the credit bureau. Make the credit bureaus work for you. It's their job to, when you dispute it through them, they need to contact the collection agency or the entity and have them prove to the credit bureau that it's actually your debt. They get 30 days to do so. If you use mail, they get 35 days to do so. But if you're doing it electronically at all, then they get 30 days. If they don't respond, or they can't come to a conclusion or whatever it is in their investigation in 30 days, it's got to come off your credit report. So make sure you go back and listen to that. And then the fourth thing I want to tell you about collections is to negotiate. Negotiate the amount. And I give very, very specific examples in that particular show. Go back and listen to it. Negotiate the amount. If you owe them $800, then you need to start negotiating, especially if it's a collection agency. Oftentimes, in my experience, what I found with people that collect for medical debt, they're not as helpful when it comes to you trying to get the collection negotiated down in amount. But other places seem to be a little more amenable to that, and especially at specific times. And this is why you need to listen to the previous show that talked all about collections, and listen to my negotiation strategy. So that's collections in a nutshell, you guys. So we got that one out of the way, got the collections, and we heading down the last stretch. And the last thing I said, I was going to do 3 shows and wrap them up for 2016. So the last portion, I said I'm going to talk to you about the breakdown. And this is how your score is calculated. So I'm going to give you guys that. And right before I do, I want to do a couple more shout outs. So I got Marcus Rollins, and I told him happy birthday, and AJ, and I told Carlton happy birthday, and Kim, I want to say happy birthday. And I believe today is actually William Durham's birthday. So happy birthday to you, William Durham. You talk about a good example of a man. William Durham is absolutely that, one of my frat brothers. So, yo to you, William. Happy birthday to you. And I've got to give a birthday shout out to Joanne Bernard. I've known Joanne my entire life, ever since I started kindergarten. I went to kindergarten with this lady. So happy birthday to you, Joanne Bernard, as well. So let's jump into the show in the last part. Let's talk about the breakdown. So lots of people, and I mentioned this early, lots of people think that if they pay their bills on time that they should have a perfect or excellent credit score. And that's simply not the case. Paying your bills on time is only one factor. It's really only one factor that makes up your credit score. So let's get into what all of the factors are. So, and of course, I did a show about this as well. You need to go back and listen to it. So the very first factor, or the one that has the most weighting, is paying your bills on time. So 35% of your overall score is off of your payment history. And that's where you make your payments on time. It shows okay, or there's a check mark that's green or what have you on your credit report showing every month that you've made this payment for whatever it is. If it's a credit card, if it's a car, if it's a home, if it's your student loan, whatever it is that you've made those payments on time. So that's 35% of your credit score, and it's the largest factor in your credit score. So got that one out the way. So then what's next? What's next is 30% of your credit score is made up of your credit card debt utilization. Now, I always talk about this debt utilization as if everybody has a credit card. So let's just say you don't have a credit card at all. So your debt utilization, I assume, is at zero. But you'll see further on down the line when we get to these other factors that is going to be important for you to utilize credit cards as well. You've got to use some credit to have the number one portion, which was the payment history. So you've got to use some credit and have a history of paying people back for them to go ahead and judge you. And yes, they are judging you when it comes to this and see about your credit worthiness. So the second factor, which is 30% of your the makeup of your credit score, is your debt utilization. So what's debt utilization? What is this credit card debt utilization? This is how you figure it out. It's your balances and your limits. So you take your balance, whatever that is, your balances of all your credit cards. Now, it's best for them to be at 30% or less of your limits overall and individually. So it doesn't do too much good if you got one card with all your money on it. And so that debt utilization ratio is way out of whack. If you have them all steady and at or below 30% of your limits. So this is how you figure it out. You have your balance and you divide your balance by what the limit is. So the average balance, credit card balance in America is $16,061. So let's take that number. So let's say your credit card balance are $16,061, but your limits are equal to $20,000. So if you do the calculation, you take that $16,061 and you divide it by 20,000, you come out basically with 80%. So your debt utilization on this example is at 80%. Your debt utilization is high. It is very high at 80%. It should be at 30% or less. Now, in this particular example, $20,000, your debt utilization should be at $6,000. Your balances should be at $6,000. I'm sorry. So if you got $20,000 worth of credit on credit cards, and credit cards only, I'm not talking about your car, I'm not talking about your house. If you've got $20,000 worth of limits, then your balances should be no higher than $6,000. So that is the credit card debt utilization. Please go back and listen to that show. It really does break it down to it. Now, if you are at this 80%, and you get down to 30%, watch your credit scores soar. Just trust me and watch your credit scores go up. And the lower you get down, of course, the better. You get down to 10%, your credit score is going to go up even more. So that's a good thing that you need to know about when it comes to this breakdown. So now we've dealt with basically 65% of what makes up your credit score. Let's jump to the length of history. The next one is 15%. Length of history is 15% of your credit score, and it would be more apt to call it really the average length of your history. So the longer that history is, the better. Now you're thinking, I've had credit for 15, 10, 20, whatever years. You've had it for a long time. But if they talk about the average, you just bought a car 3 months ago, then it brings down your average. So the longer your average, the better it is for you. For the most part, there's nothing we can really do about that at this point. If you open up something new, then it's going to shorten your average and hurt this particular factor. One place where you can lengthen this history is if you were added as an authorized user to somebody's long-standing credit card account. Now, if somebody's had a credit card